G'day and welcome to the Inforunners. I'm Execute, joined today by the Astropub.
Hello.
You doing well, mate?
I am doing okay.
Yeah, it's a bit like that. All the prep for AIE, I'm getting a bit exhausted, and I've got a bung foot at the moment, so it's hobbling around like a hobo, literally, and getting really exhausted. But anyway,
I understand that. So
I thought we'll go through this and basically kind of tell people what to expect on each day. We've also talked to a few people, and we can talk about some of the ships that we think are coming and stuff like that, and some things that are probably not coming, because there were things found in the files, but then there's things that seem to have disappeared. So, yeah, I think I'm probably more likely to talk about the things that I think we can say are safely coming. But yeah, I'll kind of leave it there. So, day number one. What do we expect on day number one, Paul?
For Crusader and Tumbrl,
yeah,
obviously the Intrepid is the big one.
Mm-hmm.
That's the LTI token. I couldn't tell you what the price is. It seems like it's an advanced starter, but it also has the same stats as the Cutter.
Yeah.
So the size is one thing, but it may also just end up being a big basic, you know.
Yeah, I think we could safely say it's harder to a little bit higher. So I think you could say like 50 to 75, somewhere in there is kind of what I'm expecting. I don't want to kind of like nail it down and say it's this, but it's in that ballpark. So, you know, in that $25 range somewhere there.
I would comfortably say $60 war bond, $65 non-war bond, somewhere between 60 and 70. So other than that, I would say the big things to look out for Crusader are all the other Crusader stuff that usually goes on sale. The big one being the M2, the A2. I can't remember which one's a limited one. I think this isn't A2 limited.
Yep. No, not anymore. No. And then you've got the Spirit and obviously the MSR. They're both very popular ships as well. I think the other thing with the Intrepid too is I think you were spot on with the role of it. I agreed with you. I was thinking exactly the same thing when you actually said it the other day, and that it's a smuggling ship is essentially what it is. It's a smuggling starter.
It's a touring smuggler because it's got that 400. It's got that 400i vibe, you know. So, but like in terms of everything that it just screams that it is designed to be fast and hard to see. So probably high value, low quantity cargo. So,
all right, then we move on to Aegis. Now, Aegis has traditionally been one of the biggest day of the sale because for the longest time, they had just the sheer biggest number of ships. I think the big ones that people go for that tend to sell out very, very, very quickly, you'd agree with me on this, is like the Javelin and the Idris. And the other interesting thing is, remember how they said this will be kind of like the last chance to buy the Idris before it releases? That's not true now. That also shows the fact that they were intending to release Squadron 42 because they said that was the last time you had to buy it. Well, that's not the case now because it's 2026.
Well, they could also... This is just a random theory crafting in the middle of this video. They could release the Idris next IAE, next Invictus.
Okay, I'll give you that one.
Because it could be done by then, and they've already had it out for so long that it's just like, there's no real spoilers there anymore. So,
well, it's not coming now. So again, they said Invictus last time was the last time to buy, and well, now it looks like it's going to be for sale again. So something definitely changed there. So is there any other big takeaways there for you? I think the other one for me would be the Reclaimer. What about you?
The Retaliator and its components or its modules, because there are modules that aren't sold. I don't think they sell the actual modules beyond the ones that are released. They'll probably sell like the dropship module, the habitation modules and stuff like that. Since modularity is out now. So if you have Retaliator, pick that up.
I have to do my community service announcement. What about your favorite ship? What about that one?
You can buy it. I will 100% judge you. Like everyone's got their taste. It's okay to like hot garbage, but you know. But honestly, it's in a bad position right now. I've heard some improvements have been made to it, but I've also heard that those improvements aren't really good. But yeah, generally speaking, if I was to like looking out for Aegis, the other thing that's kind of there that everyone forgets about is the Nautilus.
True.
The Nautilus is like one of those big spendy ones that has its own sort of value to it. So
yeah, that was something actually that I did bring up with John Crew and Ben Curtis when I talked to him actually, and I asked about down the road, is it possible to get bigger versions of the Nautilus? Because you know how the mines are really and the Sentry turrets are tailored at fighters. I was like, does that mean we could say like get a capital ships that drops capital mines or something like that? And he said, yeah, potentially that is something we could do down the line. So yeah, we might. I think when mines come back around and they work on the Nautilus, that'd be interesting to see. But yeah, don't hold me to the flame on that one because they just said potentially. But yeah, it was interesting. Right. We then move on to Mirai and MISK. I was very curious for a time if we were going to get a ship here from either the Guardian series or the and the name has eluded me, the Misfortune.
Misfortune. Yeah.
But from what I can see at the moment, again, not guaranteed, but from what we can see is that it's most likely neither of them are coming at the moment. I think the Mirai Guardian will be kicked down to kick down the road to 4.0, and that'll probably be the patch ship for that patch. So that'll more than likely come in December. But I don't know what's happening in regards to the Misfortune. So that might come over the holidays, so to speak, or something like that before Invictus. They might just be sitting there waiting to come out down the line. Yeah, is there any other ships there that kind of take your cake? Obviously, you got the Starlancer.
The Star Lancers, yeah. The TAC and those kind of things are coming in. I'm trying to think of other MISK ships.
Endeavor's a good one, especially if you like the CCE.
Oh, like how could we not mention the cult of the Endeavor? We're the high priests of the cult of the Endeavor. I'm not going to mention the everyone should be getting the $10 CCU from is it the Genesis or is it the Gemini? It's Gemini.
Gemini.
It's the Gemini to the Endeavor.
Well, just real quick, when we did talk to John, we did ask him about that stuff, and it's basically anything that's modular that has more than one module. So if you kind of think about the Galaxy, for example, it's only got one module that can rotate. So you've only got to make that many versions of the ship. So you just make a refinery version, a medical version, a manufacturing version, and it just swaps the ships. But then when you have ones where it's got combinations, so let's take the worst example, would be something like the Caterpillar or the Endeavor. You've got to make every single combination that could possibly ever exist of where you would place that module. And I think you said the last time they checked, it was over 250 versions of the Caterpillar.
And they want to make sure the animations line up properly, no break, and all that kind of stuff. So
it's a shit ton of work, or they've actually got to make a proper modular system because they don't actually have that. So that's why a lot of those ships are kicked down the road. Yeah.
So,
anyway, alien ships.
Alien ships. Always look at the Asperia ships because they're always usually super rare to get or super hard to get. Talon, Prowler, Blade are all good ones. I don't know.
I was going to say, I think a lot of the stuff about rep and that was shown off at CitizenCon has become clear now. A lot of those alien ships, one of the reasons for their expense, much like the capital ships, is the rep grind to get them. You're not just going to be able to buy them. You're going to have to craft them yourself. So, well, again, that's what the military ones, I'm assuming it's the same with the alien ones, that you'll have to go out, maybe actually go to the Banu and do a bunch of rep with them. And then they'll go, oh, here you go. Now you can make yourself a Banu ship.
Yeah. I agree.
So so some interesting little ones in there. I think the standout for me, believe it or not, is probably still the Saulian. I thought we might have seen the Raelian by now because you know how that went into kind of production type thing. But also we know now that it takes roughly 18 months for production. So maybe we might see that around Alien Week next year. That might maybe. Well, again, doing the math.
CIG's bad at doing anything for Alien Week. They never release a ship for Alien Week, even though they should.
Well, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Obviously, we get to RSI there with the big one, the Polaris.
Polaris
officially going in. It is an absolute gem of a ship. Yeah, you got the Perseus there to buy as well, which is a really good buy.
Buy the Perseus before it goes up in price, because I know they don't always increase in size, but I have a feeling that with the announcement of what we'll talk about with Anvil Aerospace, with the creation of the Paladin, I think the Perseus is going to get a either an size increase or some sort of price increase, especially since it's in production. I don't think it's going to get a price increase because they tend to not increase the price if they announce it's in production. They tend to increase the price as it gets close to release.
Yeah.
So this is probably the lowest price you'll be able to lock in the RSI ship.
Yeah.
Or the RSI Perseus. So yeah.
Yeah. So roughly, it's probably going to go somewhere between. I'd have to do the math here. It's probably going to be roughly 750 to 800 when it final price will be somewhere in that neighborhood anyway, which is quite expensive for that ship in
the
my
size
book.
of ship.
Yeah. Because it's really Starfarer type of size. It's roughly a $350 to $400 ship is what it would be if it wasn't combat. But because it's combat, it seems like double what it should be. But yeah. Right. Then we move on to the I don't know, I usually affectionately call them the smaller manufacturers.
The grab bag.
Yeah, so we've got Argo in there, Consolidated Outland, Grey Cat, and Kruger. I think that is Kruger, right? I haven't missed.
Yeah, that's Kruger.
Yeah. Pioneer. This year is going to be an absolute cluster of people trying to grab that thing because I would. Well, I almost think it's probably going to go up in price because
it's a proper capital ship now. So it's $1,000 easy.
Yeah, so you'll probably get an LTI with it now, but also you're going to get that price bump with it as well. I don't know. I'm trying to think of the Argo ones. Argo really does need to fill out its lineup a little more. So it's
That's pretty much it. I mean, you could get this. They may sell the CSV construction version, but I don't think so. I think they're going to wait for that for base building to come out before they release that. But we'll see.
Yeah, and then we obviously move on to Drake.
Yes. Now I think that they're going to make a big announcement for this year for Drake, specifically on the Kraken. I think they're going to make an announcement on the Kraken because they showed it off at Nix. So that may be something to look at for the limited versions to pick up, because
you just reminded me of something. Go ahead.
This may be the last time that you can get this at this price, because if the Kraken is going into production at next year, it'll probably go up in price. The rush to get it will also be.
Yeah, there'll be a rush to get it, but I think it'll definitely go up in price when it releases, obviously. And it's kind of scary because the privateer's at like $2,000, so 10 to 20%. So that makes it like what, 2,200 to 2,400. It's getting closer and closer to that kind of Javelin price where it is there, which is kind of scary. But I did remember something about RSI Day. They updated 2 websites, and one of them was the Orion. So I'm also possibly expecting some kind of Orion update on RSI Day. I totally forgot about that one. So I could be wrong. But again, when they tend to, when they have these websites that say Orion old and Orion new, it probably means some kind of update is coming. So yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. I think CIGs also uses these things to make as an excuse to. Someone in my stream said that, do you think they're going to use this excuse as an excuse to, just shake it up a little bit, like give an update on something to try to increase some sales? And I think, probably, but mostly probably just to also let those people know who have those ships that they didn't forget them.
Well, it's
they still have these plans. So.
It's like we're about to go into Origin, but like the 600i last year, they gave the rework stuff, and the rework. Well, maybe that'll just be announced in the ISC or whatever episodes they have. Because again, ISC, you tend to get 2 episodes. They said it's ISC but not ISC is what Disco said, so it's something new. But I'd almost expect that it's in that episode or one of those 2 episodes, or however they go about. Like, are they doing it every day? We don't know, because they said it's something new. Does that mean we're getting something every day?
They made that announcement. It's specifically going to be every other day. They've got the guide to IAE, I think is what it's called. So it's going to be a new video every other day. So it's going to be every new day. That's why it's on Friday and nothing on Thursday. So because Friday is the first day, and then they'll have one on Sunday, and then they'll have one on Tuesday and then Thursday.
So it's not every day, but every third day or every second day?
Yeah, every second day.
Every second day,
just
right.
to follow along with the sales. So
I just want to cue that up in my head. So that's Crusader, MISK, Mirai, RSI, Drake, and then Anvil, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so.
Interesting. I wonder if that tells you anything. Anyway, so then we go into Origin. As I said, like a lot of people think I hate on these ships. I just kind of want them to do a lot more. But they kind of obviously have tipped their hat a little bit at this. Like they know that there was issues with the 600i. That's why they talked about the rework last year. And when they finally do get around to doing that, I think it will be a little bit down the road. It won't be until they work or announce some new Origin ships. I don't know about you, but I think Origin definitely has a place in some of the shop ships. You know, so you could do like a food restaurant or high-end fashion or things like that. So I think that's probably when I can't really think of enough, unless they go into science. I don't know.
I could see them going into science. We've been theorizing them doing the medical for a very long time.
Yeah.
So, but we'll see. I think CIG is going to let Origin lie for a bit.
Yeah.
And then when they get to the G12, that's when they'll start pulling back in.
I have heaps of questions about that. That came up on your stream when we did Captain's Table on the weekend, didn't it? So there's still lots of people that want that thing. Yeah, I think
I don't think anyone cares about it, but I think the people who purchased it would like to have it out because it's like, you know, CIG made it. It's a ground vehicle. There's no like technical reason they shouldn't release it. So they just.
I think it's like one of those small things, like, you know, when they do the bikes and someone's got some free time, they kind of go back and work on things. I reckon that's when they get some free time, someone will go back and do the G15 or G12 and it'll pop out then. Yeah,
that makes sense.
All right, so the big day. This is the biggest day. This is going to be Anvil. We've talked to a few of our friends that can do things and read the tea leaves, do the Cody things, and we'll just tell you what we know, but take everything you're about to hear with a grain of salt, right? So we know about the Anvil Paladin. We know the description basically says it's a gunship. It's covered in turrets. If you've looked at leaks, they've literally said that there is a map of the Holo Viewer, and it's one of the ships in the Holo Viewer. But we know other people that have looked into the files, and they've actually found something that they think is sitting on the show floor. So we're not going to tell you which way it's going, but this potentially could be a flight-ready vehicle. And I've heard a lot of rumors that it's a variant of a known ship. And I think that's about as far as I'm ready to go, because I've got to the point with this where I've heard so many things from so many different people. I'm just going to kind of wait now for it to come out. But again, if it's a gunship and it's by Anvil, all right, Paul, what's your kind of thoughts on that? Just on that, you know, it's a gunship by Anvil. It's good to see Anvil doing bigger ships, I guess, is kind of my takeaway.
I'm with you on that one. I think whatever they come out with is, I'm looking at this from the production point of view. It's clear that CIG, because Anvil has no big ships other than the Carrack, and the Carrack is
Liberator and Crucible are fairly big too.
Neither of those are out yet. That's what I mean.
Oh yeah,
like both of those are big.
With you, yeah.
So as a result, when they need to have some, and let's be very brutally honest about the Carrack. The Carrack is fine, but it is definitely a product of pre 1.0 discussion CIG, even probably 4.0 discussion CIG. It is designed the way I hate ships being designed, which is it's full of other people's stuff and is used. You know, when I buy a car, I don't want to buy a car with full of other people's stuff that's the half broken down if I buy a brand new car. So it needs an overhaul. And I can see the Paladin possibly being the catalyst to that overhaul, not just for the Carrack, but also as the base ground for things like the Liberator and the Crucible, which are larger ships, and possibly even further. Because that seems to be their new mindset is we need to build big. We need to build an asset library that is for big ships. So it was the Polaris, and then it's the Ironclad, and then it's the Arastra, and then this Paladin is probably going to be that asset library for the big Anvil ships. So
the other thing that was kind of weird that I'll kind of mention, and this is why we don't know which way it's going to go, is because there's a Holo Viewer of it, and there appears to be a display model on the floor, a little bit like what happened with the Polaris at Invictus, right? But also next to the Hollowville model seems to be a rental terminal, which doesn't kind of add up. Like, how can you get a rental terminal if the ship's not out? But then how come
not released?
Yeah, so there's some kind of confusion there. So there's definitely some form of red herring in there. So we're not prepared to kind of say what it is, but we just want to give you all the facts. And again, so when it comes out, you can see what it was saying. But
we don't even know if the name is the Paladin.
Yeah.
Like, we don't like that. That could easily have been a red herring. The CIG has done it before, and they'll do it again. And the one thing that CIG would love to do is mess with us about an Anvil ship.
Yeah. I think the weirdest one was when we were looking at the files. There's a tag for the elevator that goes down to the Invictus Hall, and it literally says, "Yes, this is a hack. Don't delete it." Which I thought was kind of funny. So they've had to hack the elevators to get them to work properly, but that has provided that performance gain. So yeah. Then we go into the best in show. Obviously, I'll pop out a. No, that'll be probably the day after that, actually. So best in show, we'll get to see all the skins from the what's the thing?
Best in show.
No, it's not best in show. It's the ship showdown. I was trying to think of the name, but that actually is what they should call it here, though. The ship showdown winners or something like that.
Yeah. Well, that's the kind of the whole point is best in show is the ship showdown for best in show. But yeah.
So if you can get to the end of the sale and you own those ships, you will also get those skins. So do you remember what they all are? I'm going to forget them. So we had the Spirit, the Terrapin, and I can't remember the other.
The F8.
The F8, yep.
And the Reclaimer.
And the
Reclaimer. Yeah. The Reclaimer.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got 3 out of 4. So
it's the Spirit, the Reclaimer, the F8,
and the Terrapin. Yeah. So I might have to. I've got 3 of them. Might have to pick myself up a temporary F8 so I can get that skin. Right, then we go on to the finale. This is kind of day where I kind of go into overdrive, and I will build you a CCCU chain guide, or I've called them upgrades now. They keep changing their name. So I'll do you an upgrade guide.
We'll just call them chain guides.
I'll do an upgrade chain guide, so you can basically go through and chain those upgrades together and get the cheapest ships possible. Obviously, the higher you go up in price, the more you're going to save. I think last year when we did it was like a $435 Polaris instead of spending $750. So they're the type of savings you can expect. For example, if this Anvil Paladin comes out and it's like 124 meters like they're reporting, even if it's a concept, you'll still be able to get that concept at a cheaper price. So I will probably a guide in there, as well as I usually go up to a Polaris, but you can jump off at any point and take it to the ship that you want.
Nice. Yeah, it's usually a good deal, especially for those of you who are newer to the Star Citizen. Because the other thing to look out for this entire list is a new ship. So like to have the Intrepid will probably be on a deep discount for some starter guide, some starter pack. And so if you're looking for new ship, you get that.
I forgot to mention the Medical Terrapin on Anvil Day. It's totally slipped my mind.
Because of the Paladin,
yeah. So that'll obviously be coming out as well, but that's a variant. So I think it's probably why I forgot it.
There's a lot of ships this IAE. There's a lot of ships.
Well, again, in the files, there's a lot of ships as well, but we don't have direct evidence they're coming out. That's why I mentioned the Mist Prospector and the Guardian. I think they've probably been kicked down the road. I put this on a marketing hat on. You have background in marketing. You tell me, would you traditionally we've seen maybe 3 things for sale, and I don't think they kind of want to flood it, so they'd more likely spread it outside IAE. Look at leading up to CitizenCon, we had the Atlas, we had the I always forget the name of that little Argo truck because it came out while I was flying. CSV. The FM's obviously the FM version of that's obviously coming with base building. We have the Starlancer drop. We've got 3 variants of that. One of them you can't buy yet, which is the BLD. That's a lot just in that time period, and now we're about to hit it again and get bombarded with a whole bunch more. I can't imagine in another 12 months again. Like I was actually thinking they might even be able to go to the credence of like they used to with concept ships, you know, where they had one concept ship every month. Can they actually get the credence where they're selling one straight flyable ship a month?
They
Do you
could.
think? Yeah. Oh, okay. That's what
They
I've
have
kind
a
of thought.
huge. They have a huge backlog. They mentioned, because it's also important to remember that they built an entire new team.
Mm.
Like there's the team that built the Cutter also built the Zeus,
Yeah.
and that team is where half of the art ship artists now
Yep.
all basically are. It's
Mm.
Montreal and UK and
Manchester.
Manchester.
Yeah. Well, the other.
And as we learned, there are over 50 people on that
Yeah,
team alone.
that's what I was about to say. So they
So
went from 28 at CitizenCon last year, and we brought them shirts, right? And so we had to say, how many shirts do you need? And they said 52. So that means they've essentially grown by another 24. They almost doubled in a year, which is kind of crazy.
yeah,
But if you kind of think about it, that's probably 12 at each of those two places. So it's not so unthinkable. But yeah, again,
yeah.
if they've gone that big, and I don't know if they're stopping or getting more, but you've only got to imagine that's going to roll up and up as they build out the teams. Yeah.
As those teams get onboarded and get better at what they do, then they can start putting the month projects together and so on and so forth. So, and it's clear from the monthly reports that they have like a dozen ships in production right now.
Yep.
So I wouldn't be surprised, if a lot of, there's a lot of cautious, like everything we saw on the screen from CitizenCon in that was like, these are all production, they're planned, they may not make it, but I wouldn't be surprised if every single one of those makes it next year, just because of the sheer volume of people they have now. So, yeah, but I agree. I think it's entirely possible that CIG might just start dripping it out one ship every month, maybe one ship or vehicle every month, and then for the events they drop 3 or 4 ships and then move on, especially if they can catch up with the backlog. So,
there's definitely a lot of ships there, and again, there may be a few surprises we've missed. I think I'll kind of leave it at that. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We didn't want to kind of give you too much, say, hopium. I kind of wanted to give it, so based on the information I had, I was trying to keep it as realistic as possible. So with that, is there anything you'd like to hear from people in the comments below, Paul?
I'd like to see, as always, because this is kind of contentious, is are you getting an Intrepid? Are you getting an Intrepid for its being an Intrepid, or are you getting it for LTI token, or are you just like, have you so offended by its nature that you're just going no? Like, I want to hear your thoughts on the Intrepid, because it's a ship that fascinates me. So
yeah. So the Paladin both scares me and interests me at the same time as well. So I'd like to hear a few people's thoughts on that. But there's definitely some interesting things at play in the files where it looks like it's got a model and a holo viewer. So there's definitely something there that we haven't seen before. So yeah, all hands on deck for Anvil Day, I think. So it's an interesting one. You'll be joining me a fair bit, I'm assuming, because you've got some time off. So
yep, I'll be pretty much all but the first day and the last days. So
well, the old man doesn't get back to the 23rd, which would be your 22nd. So we can do the first couple of days he won't be around, but then I'm sure he'll be all hands on deck once he gets back, and we'll be sharing his thoughts with us as well. All right.
Awesome.
Where can people find you on the interwebs?
You can find me at YouTube on the Astropub Live, or the Astro Historian if you want. If you like lore. You can also check out, if you want to get on a little early bros, because X was on the last captain's table. Where I'm going to be moving over the captain's table's recorded episodes to be exclusively on its own channel called the Captain's Table Podcast, which has been made. So you can check that out and subscribe there too if you want to get in a little early before I start posting those next year. And of course, you catch me on Twitch at twitch.tv/the Astropub.
I'm gonna have to do that with our channel at some point. Start making extra channels.
I think. I'll say this now, and let us know in the comments down below. Would you like a Fix My Fleet channel? Dedicated Fix My Fleet channel.
Yeah. What channels do you think I should break it up into? That'd be kind of cool. Give me a little list, and I'll go through and see, and maybe give us me ideas for names, because like I'll crowdsource it like I always do. So yeah. All right, with that then, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Thank you to everyone that went the extra mile on Patreon at the end of the video. Much appreciated. All right, with that then, he's been Astropub, Paul Shelley, the Astro Historian, Berserker 01. I can't remember all the damn names. You've got too many names.
I do.
And I've been Execute. We'll see you next time.